Tantor Audio, a division of recorded books, presents You Are the One, a bold adventure in finding purpose, discovering the real you, and loving fully, by Kute Blackson, narrated by Kute Blackson. Prologue. The richest man in the world. I stepped off the train, the sweat dripping down my face, desperate for some sort of breeze. There was no relief, just the hot Indian sun blazing down on me from above. I was so hot, so tired, that I couldn't even figure out where to go. I just needed to sit down and rest. I collapsed on a bench in front of the Mahabodhi temple. I was in Bodh Gaya, the town where you can find the tree under which the Buddha attained enlightenment. But at this point, enlightenment was the last thing on my mind. I had been in India for weeks and I was desperate for a break. Some air conditioning, a soft bed, some peace and quiet. This bench would have to do. But as I closed my eyes, I heard music amidst the bustling noises of the crowds, some singing, chanting and drumming. I opened my eyes. Lined up in front of the temple were 10 beggars in formation. As if on some kind of beggar's row, bowls in hand, my eyes fell upon one man at the end of the line. Dressed in a blue wrap and nothing else, the man was drumming to the beat of his song. I could tell his hymns were to God as he was singing his heart out, eyes closed, face lifted to the heavens. I was entranced. He sang with such devotion, purity, passion, and joy that my exhaustion melted away. As I sat there watching this man, I soon realized why his eyes were closed. He was blind. This man couldn't see if he was making any money because he had no idea whether anyone was even listening to him. As I watched him sing with no need for any recognition, I thought of all the things I did in my life simply in pursuit of money. All the things I did in my life just to be seen and recognized. This man wasn't singing his song for wealth or fame. His intention seemed to be pure, utter devotion. And then I realized that this beggar had stumps instead of arms. I was shocked. He'd shown such mastery with his drum that I'd failed to notice. Unbelievable. He can't see. He has no arms. He has no hands. I began to weep. My head in my hands, standing right there in plain view of the other beggars. There was something in his simple devotion, despite all he lacked, that revealed how much I took all of my blessings for granted. If this guy wanted to moan and complain, I'd certainly understand. And yet here he was, at peace. The more I thought about what his life must have been like, the more the tears fell. I thought about how I'd eat if I had no hands, or how I'd pee, or how I'd maneuver around the world without sight. In an instant, I saw and felt how very little I'd been appreciating what I had, always thinking there must be something more. It was at that moment that I realized that this fellow was not running around hustling foreigners like the others. And it wasn't because he couldn't see or use his hands, but because there was something else I'd missed entirely. This man had no legs. Okay. I was already a slobbering, sobbing mess, but this truly undid me. This man with nothing was teaching me everything. I walked over to this beggar and knelt beside him. I looked at him. He turned and looked right at me. Despite his blindness, I could feel his gaze pierce right through me. I wanted to talk to this man. I wanted to know the secret to his devotion. I looked desperately around for a translator. Finally, I found a man who spoke English and pulled him to the beggar's side. "How do you do it?" I asked. "How do you come out here day in and day out, singing and giving and sharing like this?" As I waited for the translator to relay my message, I was expecting the heavens to part and some great esoteric wisdom to pass this man's lips. The man simply looked at me and with one line, like a bullet to my heart, said with a smile, "What else is there to do but love?" Then he looked away and resumed his singing, just like that. I was speechless. When he finished his song, he looked in my direction again. "Young man," he said, "life might give you what you want. Life may never give you what you want, but you can always give life who you are." He turned back around and started singing again, as if nothing had happened. I sat and stared in awe of the truth of his statement. Now, perhaps that man had a simpler life than we do. He didn't have hands, he had no legs, he had no sight, so his life could have been very limited. But in so many ways, he was right. We think our lives are about hustling, about doing, about accomplishing. Or when life isn't going well, we think it's about complaining, wallowing in our misery, praying for things to be better. But that man right there in the heat of India, one with so much missing in his life, felt instead like the richest man in the world. And he was going to sing his song to the universe, thanking it for its gifts every single day. After a while, in this man's presence, I knew it was time for me to move on. But before I left, I wanted to give him something, for I knew he had given me one of the greatest lessons of my life. I had reached into my pocket when he stopped singing, turned to me again and said, "I don't need your money. Just share your gifts with the world." He paused. "Who you are is a gift. By not sharing who you really are with the world, you are robbing them of something they need." I nodded my head. Again he said with a smile, "What else is there to do?" As I walked away, I realized I had no more excuses. His lessons couldn't have been more simple or profound. What else is there to do but love, sing your song, and celebrate life? This book is part of my attempt to do just that. Introduction. The world is waiting for you. No one's coming. Really, no one is coming. The government isn't going to save you. Your parents can't rescue you. Your friends won't carry you. No one's coming. Aren't you tired of waiting? Waiting for someone else to solve your problems, waiting to be happy, waiting to feel fulfilled, waiting to live a life that deep down truly feels like the life you want. I have news for you. There is no need to wait, because you are everything you've been looking for. You are the person you have been waiting for. The world is waiting for you. You are the one. Wake-up call. This book is an invitation to become like the man in the prologue of this book, whom I call the richest man in the world. No, it's not about riches. It's not about fame. It's about discovering who you really are and how freeing it can be to share that person with the world. When you know who you truly are and are living the life that you truly want to live, you too can be singing your song, giving your gift, absolutely, completely engaged in the world every single day. Do you believe that? It is possible for all of us. But to be the richest man in the world, you've got to dig deep. You've got to admit to yourself the things that aren't working in your life. You've got to own the truth that you are ready for something more. Sometimes we can't see how we have all the answers we seek because we've been hiding from the truth for so long. We've been living with our head in the sand about the things that aren't working in our lives because we are too scared to move forward. I know this firsthand. There was a point in my life as an 18-year-old living in London when I finally dared to start living the life that I wanted. Not the life that my parents wanted me to live, not the life my peers expected me to pursue, but the life that deep down felt like the life of my wildest dreams. I moved to America with nothing, knowing no one. It was one of the craziest things I've ever done. I had pretended for years that living someone else's life was good enough, until one day I said to myself, no more. I'm going to go for it. I get only one life. Life is too short to keep on pretending. I listened to my soul. I recognized that I was the only one who could change my life. It was the best choice I ever made. So, what are you pretending not to know? I don't know why I'm stuck. I don't know if this is the right relationship for me. I don't know what to do. I call this the I don't know game. It's a great way to stay complacent when we fear the unknown. You see, it's easy to get trapped in the prison of so-called success. You create a life for yourself in the world, and from the outside it works. You're making money, you have the job, the house, the car, and people are saying, look how successful you are. You've got it all. Great job. Yet deep down, you know that there is more for you than the life you've created. But it can be hard to sacrifice your neat little life filled with its alluring comforts. But often, even when everything is comfortably set up, eventually that comfortable space starts to feel like a prison. In working with thousands of people across the world, I've seen so many people become focused on getting better prison food rather than breaking out of the prison, trying to make a small 8x8 cell enough for themselves. The whole world awaits. It's time to break down those bars. They are all an illusion anyway. So, are you ready to stop lying to yourself? Right now, I invite you to become responsible for your life. I invite you to be responsible for your happiness. No one is coming. This is not bad news. This is good news. It means that you have the power. It means your life is in your hands. If you feel dissatisfied right now with life, with love, with money, great. This is a profound moment. You are outgrowing what has previously worked. You have exhausted one way of doing life. It is a moment for change. It is a moment for reckoning. To be dissatisfied is to know that you were made for something more. To be dissatisfied is to listen to the truth that is buried deep within, that you were born for greatness. Peeling back to perfect. When you admit that the way you have been doing things isn't working, then you open yourself up to a new way of living. And in this book, I'm going to walk you through a process to get you back in touch with who you truly are. Sometimes we don't even realize how disconnected we can get from our pure essence. But getting back in touch with your soul is what will allow you to start to live a life that finally feels fulfilling, that finally feels free, that finally feels truly powerful. We've got to peel you back to perfect. What do I mean? Well, when you were born, you were perfect and free. If you don't believe me, watch your children or a niece or a nephew, or go to a local park and observe the world of play in front of you. Children are so in touch with their pure essence. They remind us of who we used to be before we got conditioned to behave a certain way, before we stopped believing in our dreams, before we stopped freely expressing ourselves. Do you remember a moment when you were that free? When you would run up to someone and give him or her a hug? When you knew that you had so much to give the world? You would say, I love you, without needing to hear it in return. It just flowed out of you naturally. It wasn't part of a transaction. It was a gift given freely. But then Life begins to chip away that beautiful, trusting essence. You feel the pain of disappointing your parents over something as simple as getting a B instead of an A on a report card. You felt the heartbreak of your parents getting divorced. Perhaps you experienced a death in the family. Life happens, and it hurts. So you go into survival mode. You develop survival mechanisms that prevent you from feeling pain and layer these mechanisms one on top of another to help navigate the world as safely as you can. But those protective layers also cover up that perfect soul that you were born with. Those layers keep you from being who you really are and creating the life that you truly want. You lose touch with the truth that deep down you have everything you need, with the gift you were born to give the world. In this book, I'm going to help you peel back those layers so you can get back in touch with who you truly are, not who you think you are, not who your parents wanted you to be, not who your partner is trying to mold you into, who you really are. It's not necessarily an easy process, but it is completely necessary to become truly free. Over the last decade, I have worked with people across the globe, both one-on-one and in small and large auditoriums, helping people transform their lives. All kinds of people, billionaires, celebrities, pop stars, teenagers, helping them discover who they really are. Because many times, despite their wealth and success, they are still completely unsatisfied. In particular, I have taken clients on a completely unconventional, non-traditional, transformational experience called the Liberation Experience. It is a 14-day, 24/7, non-stop journey through the bowels of India, her slums, sacred sites, and streets teeming with mystery, with one client and me as their guide. Now, why would my client sign up for that? Doesn't that sound a bit crazy? A little extreme? You bet. Many of my clients have everything the world tells you will make you a success. They have the perfect family, the important job, the big house, maybe even a private jet. But they don't feel powerful. They aren't happy. They walk through my door to find out why the hell not. And I take them to India. We travel to temples. We go running in 114-degree heat. We ride in crazy taxi cabs where we fear for our lives. But we aren't there to be tourists. We aren't there to simply meditate. We aren't there to serve the hundreds of thousands of beggars that line the streets. We are there to peel back the layers of conditioning, all the roles and responsibilities and fears that they think encompass who they are, so we can reveal who they really are. So they can discover that perfect, beautiful, powerful soul that they were born with. I've now been taking clients for over 10 years, and it doesn't disappoint. This book will take you on a similar journey. No, we aren't going to India, because through the pages of this book, you will discover you don't need to go to India, to Bali, to yoga, on retreat, on sabbatical. This book will connect you to your real self. This is the real journey. It is a journey to show you that deep down, underneath all the ways that you've learned to protect yourself, is your perfect, powerful soul. It is a soul that is infinite. It is a soul that is unique to you. And it's just waiting for you to let it out. I've seen firsthand people get everything they thought they wanted in life and still feel empty. Because if you are not connected to who you really are, what you think you want won't be what you really want. So it is a fruitless pursuit, chasing and chasing and chasing things that are ultimately meaningless. This book will help you know what you really, truly want. The richest man in the world. The story that opens this book is about the man I call the richest man in the world. Why is he the richest man in the world? Because despite his circumstances, he wasn't holding anything back. He was giving his gifts fully. And if the man who has nothing dares to give, no matter his situation, then we who have plenty have no excuses whatsoever. I will teach you how to give love and be as free as this man. He wasn't waiting for someone to come and help him. He had every reason to see himself as a victim, unable to do anything with his life. He had every reason to spend his life complaining. But he didn't. He knew he was the one. I will teach you how to be this free, to discover who you really are, to sing your unique song full out with utter devotion, and most important, to give your gift, to share your unique ray of light in a world that is starving in darkness. Our world needs you now more than ever. I think we can agree that we are living in pretty amazing times. We can build big buildings, invent the internet, send people walking across the moon, launch 500 channels, and create complex car navigation systems. Yet we still live in a world where children are starving and millions are homeless. We have lots of sex but don't make love. Bigger bank accounts but less fulfillment. Faster cars but no time. More options but less patience. More education but less sense. More technology but less touch. Old systems and paradigms are collapsing. We are desperately in need of conscious, awake people who are aware of the power they have within them to recreate the world, who understand why we are here on this planet, who are ready to step up and give their gifts. You have been born at this time for a reason, but until we stop looking outside of ourselves for answers, we will continue to watch the world fall apart. You are the one. Throughout this book, I will be referencing whom I consider the great ones: Gandhi, Jesus, Mother Teresa, the Buddha, Martin Luther King Jr. Now, were they great because they fulfilled our societal expectations of success? No. For them, it wasn't about fame or money. They were great because of who they were and how they loved. If they had been focused on material success, they would never have been doing what they were doing. But they knew there was a bigger game in town. The real riches aren't what you possess. The real riches are who you become. You too can be a great one. We are all great ones. We just have to stop playing so small. Right now, you need to ask yourself, is the life you are living the life you are meant to be living? If not, it's not too late. It's never too late. It's time to stop settling. Dare to play big. Live like Mozart composed, like Miles Davis jazzed, or like Michael Jordan jumped. What would happen if you lived like that? Full out, nothing in reserve. What would your life look like if you lived and loved like Nelson Mandela persevered? Or like Einstein intuited, the Buddha meditated, Picasso painted, Baryshnikov danced, and Pele played? Living your life like it was what you were born to do, because it is. It's time to peel away all of those survival mechanisms that have been blocking you from being who you truly are. I will reintroduce you to the fact that you are the one. You are the one. The world is waiting for you, the real you. And being the real you, the most authentic you, is the greatest gift you can give the world. You do not need to go anywhere. You do not need to travel to far-off places for inspiration or enlightenment. Right now, you can set yourself free. You can be deeply, fully alive. The fact that you hold this book in your hands means that you are ready. You are ready. Chapter 1. Do you dare? No one else can ever tell you what you truly want. You are the only one who knows. Stop following what's expected and dare to go after the life you want. Finding my own way. I never had the chance to live a normal life. For starters, my full name is Ignatius Kute Blackson. My mother's from Japan and didn't speak a word of anything but Japanese before marrying my father, a Ghanaian healer who didn't speak a word of Japanese. He still doesn't. They wed as strangers, agreeing to marry before they had ever seen each other. That's what I call blind faith. I was named after the former president of Ghana, where my father was the spiritual advisor to 2 presidents and founded more than 300 churches before the president was murdered, and we fled to London when I was 3. My first memories are of seeing my father perform amazing miracles. He would literally heal the lame, deaf, and blind. I will never forget being lost in the crowd, following my father and watching a crippled woman crawl on the ground, pick up the sand that my father walked on, smear it on her face, and stand up. I know I wouldn't have believed it either, except I saw it with my own eyes. I grew up seeing proof that miracles happen. My father founded a church in London, which grew into a collection of West African refugees, Jamaicans, and West Indians. Soon, 5,000 congregants would gather on Sundays to hear my father preach, to sing songs that reminded them of their homeland and to pray for healing. Because I was my parents' only child and male, everyone expected that I would follow in the footsteps of my father and take over his churches one day. This was made clear when I was 8 and my father called me up on stage to give a sermon. I had been snoozing in the pews. I didn't want to be in church. I wanted to be playing soccer with my friends. I felt a tap on my shoulder, and someone said, "Your father wants you to go up and preach." I sat up confused, rubbed the sleep from my eyes, and walked up to the podium where my father stood. "Go ahead, son," he said. I stood in front of the darkened sanctuary. Thousands of eyes focused on me, my father looking at me expectantly. What was I supposed to say? And then I just began. The words started flowing out of me. Afterward, I didn't even remember what I had said. But the congregation was in tears, deeply moved by the message that had come through me. Evidently, I had talked about the power of having a vision, that Jesus, when he needed to feed the crowd of 5,000, didn't look at the meager offerings of a few fish and loaves of bread, but instead turned his eyes upwards to the hills. He looked not down at his limitations, but up to a higher plane. After that day, people began calling me Little Bishop or Pastor Kute, and part of me loved it. I loved spirituality. As soon as I could read, I'd curl up in my room with any book I could find. By the time I was 13, I had discovered the books on my father's bookshelves and was reading metaphysical tomes by authors like Neville Goddard and Joel Goldsmith. They fed my unquenchable thirst to try and understand life. Who are we? Where do we come from? Why do we do what we do? Reading these books helped me to answer some of these questions and to contribute to the many spiritual conversations in our household. My father's attitude has always been, other than God, what else is there to talk about? It was when I read the American self-help gurus of the 90s, Deepak Chopra, Louise Hay, Jack Canfield, and others, that my obsession really took root. These thought leaders weren't limited by having to follow a set of dictates, but were following their own path away from organized religion, with its churches, collars, and collection plates. They were creating new ways of being spiritual inside conference rooms and lecture halls. They were reaching people who had never set foot in a church and inspiring them to lead powerful, meaningful lives. There was something in their teachings that resonated.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?